Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to another episode of the Think Clinical podcast. My name is Hamza. Thank you so much for joining us. This is another beautiful day. And I just want to today go through a really quick, straight to the point episode on the 10 books that I think and that I have read, and I think that they will really be helpful for you as a healthcare entrepreneur, especially as a physician leader who has no experience whatsoever in building businesses, just helping you understand how the business framework works, how things go through. And these are the 10 books that I will recommend, and I'm hoping that if you're able to read them, they will really change your life, because I've had so many conversations with physician-led doctors, and I spoke with a hospitalist last year, and she's been practicing for 11 years. Excellent clinician. She's sharp, motivated, very genuinely curious. She has quietly been building a side project, a wellness membership practice, for about 8 months, and she said to me, I feel like I'm trying to build something, but I don't know the language. And everyone talks about strategy, positioning, products, and market fit, and I didn't learn any of this in medical school, and I have so many episodes on this, and this is a reality of what we face, because she was right. She didn't, none of us did. We had to learn it from scratch, but the clinical training we received was extraordinarily in-depth about what we need to know about patient care. And there was nothing, almost entirely silent on the business side of medicine. So that gap is what today's episode is designed to close. And there are 10 books that I believe every healthcare entrepreneur should read. They are not academic texts. They're just practical wisdom, direct, applicable to work that we are doing right now. That would really help you be able to, first of all, understand all these things that come up when you start talking about building a business. The first one I would like to put up is the Innovator's Prescription by Clayton Christensen, and this is the most of you probably know about Christensen from the Innovator's Dilemma, and there's classic text on how disruptive technologies topple industry giants. Now, in this book, that's the Innovator's Prescription, applies that same framework specifically to healthcare, and it is the most intellectually rigorous analysis that I've ever encountered on why systems are so resistant, or why the healthcare system is so resistant to change. And that's one of the most rigorous analysis that I've ever read about that concept. And his central argument is that disruption in healthcare requires moving care from expensive, complicated settings to simpler, more accessible ones. And he wrote this in 2009. Now, look at telehealth, look at retail clinics, look at direct primary care. The roadmap was already there. He saw it and he called it out in the beginning, and now people are making a lot of money out of it. So who should read this? Anyone building in healthcare who wants to understand the structural forces at play. It will give you the strategic vocabulary that you need to change how you see things in every opportunity. So that's the first book, which is the Innovator's Prescription by Clay Christensen. And the second book, obviously, is the best book that I think anybody should be able to read, which is the Blue Ocean Strategy by Kim and Mabong. And this is something that I read this book when I was in business school, and I really think it should be the Bible to everybody, because if you look at healthcare right now, we are in a red ocean, and everyone is fighting for the same patients, everyone is fighting for the same reimbursements, the same referrals. You compete on price, you on location, on wait times. Everyone is bleeding. Blue Ocean usually will ask, what if I stop competing and instead created something that makes competition irrelevant, right? That's what the Blue Ocean would ask. So I think about this constantly in healthcare, and every direct primary care service that we have today, every condition-specific telehealth platform, every physician-owned med spa that launched in the last 5 years, these are all blue oceans. And they found a space where old rules did not apply, and they built that in that space. And very soon, as people shift towards those spaces, they'll become red oceans. But again, it's just continuously evolving and looking at spaces where the competition, you don't have to compete with everybody on the same stuff. Then you ask yourself, what blue oceans does my expertise and passion really point to? So that's the second book that I think everybody should read religiously, which is the Blue Ocean Strategy. The third book, obviously, is the Lean Startup by It requires, and this is the Bible of modern entrepreneurship, and it applies to healthcare more than the founders realize. The core idea here is that you have to stop spending months building something before you test it. Because when you launch a minimum viable product, you get feedback, you learn fast, and you iterate. That is the way to go. You don't have to wait for so many months before you go forward with something else. You go forward with like a business. So, and when you look at this, what this usually means is that practices that expand too fast, that sign long lists, that hire 10 people before they even have a proven model, are the ones that I see struggling. And the ones that validate and iterate then scale, those are the ones that grow into something real. So this is a book that you definitely have to read. The fourth book that I would recommend is The Founder's Dilemma by Noam Wasserman. And this is one of the less well-known, but I consider it's a required reading for any physician going into practice ownership. Now, Wasserman studied thousands of startups and cataloged the patterns of failure. And what he found is that the most companies don't fail because of the market or the technology. They fail because of the founder's decisions, specifically around equity, control, hiring, and co-founder conflicts. This is where the issues usually come in. So if you've watched or if you ever watch a practice partnership fall apart, and most of us have, this is a book you need to read, especially if you're going into partnerships like that, and you need to know what really happened and be able to know what to do before you sign. The fifth book I will put up here is The Hard Thing About Hard Things by Ben Horowitz. And every business book tells you how to succeed. This one tells you what to do when everything is going wrong. So Horowitz has a phrase that I love. He says, there's no good options, only one less bad one. So healthcare entrepreneurs know this feeling, and the payer denies. So you have a payer who denies a cohort of claims. A physician leaves, a competitor enters your market, the lease renewal comes in 40% higher than expected. This book would give you a formula. It will give you a mental framework to lead through chaos and remind you that the difficulty is not a sign you are doing something wrong. It's a sign that you are actually doing something real with your life. That's the fifth book. The sixth book is The Checklist Manifesto by Atul Gawande. Atul Gawande is a surgeon and a real thinker. And this book really sits at the intersection of medicine and systems thinking in a way that nothing else quite does. So the argument is simple. The most dangerous thing in a complex system isn't ignorance. It's the assumption that the experts don't need checklists because their expertise is sufficient. So Gawande proves compellingly that assumptions kills people in operating rooms and loses money in businesses. So this is one of the good books written by a physician. And so for healthcare entrepreneurs trying to build consistent, scalable systems, whether that's patient intake, billing workflows, or team communication, this book is foundational for you to consider. The seventh book is 0 to 1 by Peter Thiel. And Thiel's central claim is that copying what exists already, going from 1 to n, creates incremental value. Going from 0 to 1, building something genuinely new, creates enormous value. So in healthcare, there's a massive gravitational pull towards copying. You see a successful agent care model, you copy it. You see a successful concierge practice, you replicate it. And what is and I mean that's the environment that we are in. But it's not where transformational opportunity is. So 0 to 1 would ask the question, what do you believe that almost nobody else believes? What truth, insight, or approach do you have that could become the foundation for something that doesn't exist yet? That question is worth spending a long time with. The eighth book that I'll talk about is The Business Healthcare Innovation by Lawton Burns. And this is the most technical book on the list. And for that reason, it is also the most underread. And but if you are building in an intersection of health and technology, which is increasingly where the opportunity is, this is essential. So Burns provides a rigorous analysis of healthcare business models across pharmaceuticals, biotech, medical devices, and healthcare IT. And here is not prescriptive. He describes, analyzes, and lets you draw conclusions. But the framework he offers for understanding how healthcare innovation actually gets commercialized are unlike anything else you see in most of the literature. So this is a book you have to read, definitely. The next book, which is book 9, is 100 Million Offers. Yes, I know, that's by Alex Hormozi. and a healthcare entrepreneur recommending a book by Jim Chain founder, but I need you to really hear me out here. Homozy's book is about one thing: how to craft an offer so compelling that prospects feel foolish saying no. And while the examples are often from fitness to online businesses, the underlying framework is universally applicable to you even as a healthcare entrepreneur. So healthcare providers are almost uniformly terrible at packaging and pricing their services. They think about what they charge per visit, not about the full value stack that could be offered. This book will change how you think about what you're actually selling and how to communicate it in a way that makes patients want to say yes. I've seen practice owners read this and immediately redesign their membership programs, their onboarding experience, their pricing structure. The ROI on a $30 book can be extraordinary. And the last book that I recommend is The Good to Great. Collins and his research team spent 5 years identifying what separates companies that make the leap from good performance to truly exceptional, sustained performance. And what they found defies most conventional wisdom. The leaders of great companies are not the loudest, most charismatic visionaries. They are disciplined, humble, relentless, focused on getting the right people in the right seats, and willing to confront brutal facts about without losing faith. So in healthcare, where physician leaders are almost trained to be the smartest people in the room, the one with the answers, the book is useful. It's a useful corrective. And the best practice owners I know are the ones who build teams that make them less necessary and more central. So 10 books. Let me give you the true line. The first 3 are about how to see and seize opportunity. They are your strategic lens that you have to look at. The middle 4 are about the reality of building a business, and they are about survival guides. The last 3 are about scale and endurance, and they are your growth playbook. You don't need to read all 10 this week. I would encourage you to start with one that addresses your most urgent need right now. Well, are you trying to see more new opportunity? Start with Blue Ocean. Are you in the trenches and things are hard? Pick the hard thing about hard things tonight. The best investment you ever make in your practice is investments to make your own. It will be in your own thinking, and this is what we are trying to really send across everybody. So this has been another episode of the Think Clinical podcast. Thank you. Please remember to subscribe, like, and share, and we will see you in our next episode.